Welcome to the New School of Marketing podcast, the place for smart, simple strategies that will amplify your business results. Sharing practical tips, insider knowledge, and actionable advice because marketing is something that every business owner can do. Now, let's get started. Introducing your host, Bianca McKenzie, mum, lover of snow sports, camping, horse riding, and in-demand launch strategist and Facebook advertising knowledge bank.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in to the New School of Marketing podcast. So I'm actually recording this podcast on a Monday morning and we have just had such a beautiful weekend. Honestly, after all the rain we've had, I was worried that we'd never see the sun anymore. But we've had an absolutely glorious weekend. My little one actually put shorts on Saturday, even though it was only 13 degrees. I think she's turning into a true little Tasmanian. But yeah, it was really warm in the sun and we spent the morning weeding garden beds and our herb patch, discovering herbs under all the weeds as well, which was fun. And then in the afternoon, we finally started fencing our chicken coop. And our awesome friend came to help and he and my husband got it done pretty quickly, which is awesome. And I would have free-range chickens if only I didn't have two dogs who would very happily chase them all the time. It's not really fair on the chickens, I don't think. So, and then on Sunday, we celebrated Father's Day and we spent the morning at the Ulverstone Market, which is beautiful. It was sunny again, so a lot of sunshine again. And in the afternoon, we did more work on the chicken coop. It's still not finished. And yeah, some more work around the house. And it was just so nice to be outside. So I hope you had a lovely weekend wherever you are. Even though I know a lot of parts of Australia are in lockdown and yeah, it's tough. I've been there a few times and all I can do is send you hugs. It is so, so tough. In today's podcast episode, I want to talk to you about tracking Facebook ads. And what I've noticed is that since the Apple iOS updates last year, tracking isn't as accurate in Facebook Ads Manager. And in a way, it's not really surprising because when people opt out of tracking, there's just nothing fed back to Facebook. So because, people have opted out and Facebook just doesn't get that information. So there are gaps in the data. And this gap in the tracking is just extremely frustrating for anyone running ads. And it's pretty much giving me a headache every single day. So that's why I wanted to talk to you about this one tool that I use in addition to a lot of other tracking tools. Like it's not the only one I use, but I wanted to talk about this one tool that will help you get a clearer picture of your ads results too. So let's dive in. And I'm actually talking about an inbuilt feature inside of Ads Manager that you might not yet be using. You might not even have seen it. Like it's just this tiny little option that you can use. And it's called UTM tracking. It's actually fairly easy to set up. So what exactly is UTM tracking? Let's look at that first. So UTM stands for Urchin Tracking Module. And the Urchin software company was actually acquired by Google in 2005. And their software laid the groundwork for what we now know as Google Analytics. So I'm completely sort of moving away from Facebook for a minute because UTMs and Google Analytics are very much linked to each other. But basically, UTM codes are bits of text that you can add to a link that tell Google Analytics, as well as other analytics tools, a little bit more about each link that you might be putting out there. I hope you're still following me. So basically, they are just, bits of code that you can use, and it just tells your analytics tools more information about that link. So when you use Facebook's UTM building tool, your link can send information that includes the data source, so where it came from. And in this case, that will be Facebook. And you can also add other bits of information, for example, the campaign name, ad set name, ad name, and it's super useful to find that information later on. So what does it do and why is it important? Well, because Facebook tracking in Facebook Ads Manager is much harder now, you really need to add another layer in so that you're able to see if your ads are effective or not. You really cannot rely on Facebook Ads Manager to tell you the right thing. I'm seeing it all the time inside Facebook Ads Manager where it shows sales or it shows conversions in terms of list signups, and they're just either not there or there's more than is reported back to Facebook, because some of it doesn't get reported back to Facebook because people have opted out of tracking. So you need to have another layer of measuring. And UTM codes help you track the performance of each of the links that you're using so you can see where your traffic is coming from. So essentially, UTM codes tell the story of how your traffic is coming to you. So it's great to see this kind of information. Anyway, how do you set it up? Well, it might all sound a little bit technical to you. And when I first started with ads management over 7 years ago, I didn't use this either. I don't even know if it was available. I don't know. But then tracking was a lot more accurate and it was less competitive online. So it didn't matter as much. It was like, I feel like it was just a lot easier back then. But we're changing with the times, right? Well, Facebook actually makes it quite easy to create UTMs inside the ads dashboard. And UTMs work by using 3 or 4 elements, and they're called UTM parameters. And these are source, so where does the traffic come from? Medium, again, it can describe in a way where your traffic or what kind of traffic it is, for example, blog or something like that. Content, which is an optional one, and campaign. And when you're setting up your ads, in the last step of creating your ad, so if you're going through the ads manager, you've started a campaign, you've put in all your targeting, and you've gone to that last option where you put in your creative, you put in your copy, and you also be asked to put in your URL. So it's where you want to send your traffic. So that last step of creating your ad, this is where you'll find that. And underneath the website URL option, you'll see a small blue text with the words build a URL parameter. And this blue text is actually a link. And when you click on it, it brings up a pop-up box where you can build your own UTM for that specific ad. It's brilliant. I really love it. And inside this pop-up box, you have the option to specify your UTM parameters by using drop-down options. So it's so easy, like you just pick what's already in a list. So I'm going to share with you how I was taught to do this. And so when I was taught, I was told to use the following parameters. And I will include screenshots in the show notes so that you can actually see what this looks like, because I know that it's always a bit tricky when you're a visual person and I'm talking you through this. So in this pop-up box, the first field that you can fill in with a parameter, it is the site source name. And so the field box says campaign source. So when I click on the drop down, I will select site source name. And this tells me that the traffic came from Facebook because that's what I'm using at the moment. You're inside of Facebook Ads Manager. So yeah, the site source name under the campaign source box will tell you that the traffic came from Facebook. Inside the second option, so the second field box, that one is campaign medium. In there, I select campaign name. And this tells me which exact advertising campaign the traffic came from. And of course, and I need to put this in here, your naming conventions for your campaigns are important. I know that some people leave it on the default. And if you do that and they're all the same, it's not really going to make a difference. So your naming conventions for your campaigns and every single part of your ad campaign, really, they are important because if you're using this, they need to be specific. Then inside the third option, which is under the campaign name, I actually select ad set name because I've already used the campaign name in Campaign Medium because I want to use all of these options. I want to use as many options as possible so that it tells me exactly where it came from. So under the campaign name, I select ad set name, and this tells me which ad set the traffic came from. And I mostly name my ad sets after the audience that I'm targeting because a lot of what you're doing in the ad set level is around targeting and who you're showing your ads to. And then the last option, the fourth one, that one is a campaign content box. And under that, I specify the ad name. And this tells me the specific ad that the traffic came from. So the link that you've now built with your UTM parameters looks long and it looks a little bit clunky, but it really includes valuable information so that it's a great way to track your results. And if you use the button option on your ad, so when you set up an ad and you use a call to action that has a button, instead of putting the link inside of your copy, the person clicking on your ad doesn't really see that, somewhat ugly link. Like I said, I will include screenshots of what all of this looks like inside Ads Manager so that you have something to look back at and you can see what I just talked you through because, it might be a little bit tricky just listening to it. And if you have an e-commerce store, a lot of you will be doing carousel ads. So one little tip, if you are doing this for a carousel ad, you need to create UTMs for every single URL you add to each of your carousel images. I know sometimes I set up ads for my clients and it has 10 different images. So 10 different carousel images and 10 different links most of the time because we send them straight to the product that we're showcasing. And each one of those URLs, product URLs, you need to build a specific UTM for that. It takes a little bit longer, but it's definitely worth it. Now, how do you find your results? Because, we're building all these super long, clunky URLs. What are you going to do with them? So now that you've set up your UTMs, where do you go? Well, your UTM tracking won't show up in Facebook Analytics. Like it won't be in your Ads Manager dashboard, but you'll find them inside Google Analytics as well as other analytics tools. So for example, Easy Webinar actually shows them inside their reports. So if you're advertising for a webinar, you'll be able to see which registrations came from your Facebook ads and which ones didn't if you set up your UTM tracking. It's really, really amazing. I loved it when I saw it for the first time. Well, let's talk about Google Analytics though, because that's like the motherboard of all analytics. It's like the holy grail of analytics in a lot of places. So inside Google Analytics, you'll be able to find your UTM links in a few different places. So inside Google Analytics, you'll find them under acquisition. And then if you look at all traffic and look at source or medium, you'll find them there. And you'll also find them under acquisition and then campaigns and inside all campaigns. And I highly recommend setting up Google Analytics, even if you haven't already done so. Even if you're not going to look at the reports, it is so good to have it set up and tracking all of your traffic so that even if you don't want to look at it, somebody else can potentially help you with it down the track. And I also recommend using UTMs for your ads so that you're able to track your ads better, especially now that there are some blind spots with Facebook Ads Manager. And if you're advertising and you're kind of going, well, I don't really use Google Analytics, so I'm not going to bother with these UTMs, I still recommend that you set up both Google Analytics as well as use the UTMs just for future use. It is definitely, it tells you so much more. And the URL parameter tool inside Ads Manager has made things so much easier for me as it allows me to build UTMs right from inside Ads Manager. And it shows up in a variety of analytics tools. and I can see which ad contributed to certain results. It's so much easier than having to manually build all these UTMs. So there you have it, my one tool in an arsenal of tools that I use that helps me track mine and my clients' Facebook ads more accurately. If you want to learn more about using UTMs and especially how to use them inside your Facebook advertising campaigns, head on over to newschoolofmarketing.com to download my free resources. There's definitely something in there about UTMs. You'll get helpful tips delivered to your inbox, and you'll also be invited to join the next round of my Facebook Ads for Online Stores course, which is currently being completely revamped and renewed. So if you're here for the latest knowledge and strategies in Facebook advertising, I would love for you to join me. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks so much for joining me on this episode of the New School of Marketing podcast. I hope it was helpful, and I can't wait to share more marketing tips with you next week. If you're ready to take your business to the next level with Facebook and Instagram advertising, make sure you visit newschoolofmarketing.com to download practical free resources, plus subscribe to the podcast and never miss an episode. I can't wait to go on this journey with you. Until next time, take care and market your business every day.